Want to read you a true story about a mother's sacrifice. Said on a cold Christmas Eve in 1952, when Korea was in the throes of civil war, one young woman struggled along a village street, obviously soon to deliver a child. She pleaded with a passerby, "Please help me. My baby." No one paid any attention to her. A middle-aged couple walked by. The wife pushed away the young mother and sneered, "Where's the father? Where's your American man now?" The couple laughed at her and went on. The young woman almost doubled up from a contraction as she watched them go. "Please," she begged. She had heard of a missionary living nearby who might help her. Hurriedly, she began walking to that village. If only he could help her baby. Shivering and in pain, she struggled over the frozen countryside. But the night was so cold. Snow began to fall. Realizing that the time was near to deliver her baby, she took shelter under a bridge. There, alone, her baby was born on Christmas Eve. Worried about her newborn son, she took off her own clothes, wrapped them around the baby, and held him close in the warm circle of her arms. The next day, the missionary braved the new snow to deliver Christmas food packages to the poor folk in the village. As he walked along, he heard the cry of a baby. He followed the cry to the bridge. Under it, he found the young mother frozen to death, still clutching her crying baby boy. The missionary tenderly lifted the baby out of her arms. Later, he adopted him as his own. When the little boy was 10 years old, the missionary told him the story of his mother's death on that Christmas Eve. The young boy cried, realizing the sacrifice his mother had made for him. The next morning, the missionary rose early to find the boy's bed empty. Seeing a fresh set of small footprints in the snow, outside he bundled up warmly in a winter coat and followed the trail. It led back to that bridge where the young mother had died. As the missionary approached the bridge, he stopped, stunned. Kneeling in the snow was her son, naked and shivering uncontrollably. His clothes lay beside him in a small pile. Moving closer, he heard the boy say through chattering teeth, "Mommy, oh mommy, were you this cold for me?" Jesus, the only begotten Son of God, left heaven and all its luxuries and glory to come to earth to die. Shed his blood, become a curse on a tree, and in his ministry was tempted in all things. In Hebrews 4:15 it says, "For we have not a high priest which cannot be touched with the feeling of our infirmities, but was in all points tempted like as we are, yet without sin." Jesus was also marred more than any man in his physical form. Isaiah 52:14, as many were astonished at thee, his visage was so marred more than any man, and his form more than the sons of men. His beard was plucked out. Isaiah 56, I gave my back to the smiters, and my cheek to them that plucked off the hair. I hid not my face from shame and spitting. We talked earlier about a mother's love to give her life for her child. But the love of God and Jesus, who for the human race to give his life, be more than any cold, be more than any fire, be more than any pain, gave himself to be a sacrifice for the human race while we were yet sinners and enemies of God. In Romans 5:8 it says, but God commended his love towards us, in that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. In Romans 5:10 it says, for if when we were enemies we were reconciled to God by the death of his Son, much more, being reconciled, we shall be saved by his life. If you have not accepted Jesus this Mother's Day and feel the love of God in your heart. Just pray, dear Jesus, I want you to be my Lord and Savior, and I will put my trust in you. If you said that simple prayer, we believe you are saved. Find a Bible-believing church, and if you are in our area, please come to our church, if you do not already have one. The Conservative Pilgrim Holiness Church, 911 West Pioneer, Puyallup, Washington, 98371. When you put God's love, and you start thinking, here this mother loved her baby so much. She took her clothes in freezing weather and wrapped it around the baby and froze to death. What type of love was it that God and Jesus had? That he showed that kind of love when you were enemies to him. We're serving a living Savior, a God and Jesus who loves us and who's waiting for each and every one of us, if we haven't accepted Jesus Christ as personal Savior, to accept him today. But if we have accepted him, for you to realize that he loves you. And no matter what we go through, put him first in your life. Let him work out the details. You do what you can do, God will do the rest.